Okay, we're going to go over our 4 homework assignments from the 2.3 section. Okay, first one, we have n squared minus 12n plus 35. So when I look at this, I have an n times n to get n squared. Now I need to find the factors of 35. What can multiply to give me 35? It could be 35 and 1, or 5 and 7. If I look at my last sign, this is a plus and this is a minus. Since the last is a plus and this is a minus, it tells me that these are both going to be minuses in the middle. Today's word of the day is factoring. If you email me the word factoring within the next 24 hours, I will give you 25 bonus points on your quizzes. We will break them up amongst 2 quizzes, 25 bonus points. Or you could use them for your homeworks, whatever you need. Okay, so now this is minus 7 and minus 5. Set that equal to 0. And minus 7 equals 0, and minus 5 equals 0. Solve this by adding the 7 over. N equals 7. Solve the bottom one by adding the 5 over. N equals 5. And we're done with those ones. On to the next. X squared plus 10x plus 24 equals 0. I can't take anything out right away, so I got to factor. This becomes an x and an x. What multiplies to give me 24? Since these are both plus signs, I know that this is a plus and this is a plus. What multiplies to give me 24? There's 8 and 3, 4 and 6, 24 and 1, 12 and 2. So let's see what adds together to give us 10. 6 and 4 adds together to give us 10. So this is a 6 and this is a 4. Those could be in either order. It doesn't matter. So now this would become x plus 6 equals 0. We break those apart. X plus 4 equals 0. Subtract the 6 over. X equals negative 6. Subtract the 4 over. X equals negative 4. Number 3. We can't take anything out. Break it up. It's x and x, because x times x is x squared. And what multiplies to give me negative 56 and adds to give me a 1? Since this is negative and this is positive, 1 is positive, 1 is negative. So if I do x plus 7 and x minus 8, you'll notice that that gives me, when I add those together, negative 8 plus 7 will give me a negative x. Since this is not negative, it tells me that I need to switch those. That's x plus 8 and x minus 7. Subtract the 8 over, gives me x equals negative 8. Of x minus 7 equals 0. Add the 7 over, gives me x equals 7. Number 4. I have p and p. What multiplies to give me 7? That can only be 1. Since this is a positive 7 and this is a negative 8, it tells me that these are both subtraction. So this would be minus 7 and minus 1. Negative 7 minus 1 gives me negative 8. Negative 7 times negative 1 gives me positive 7. I have p minus 7 equals 0, and p minus 1 equals 0. That should give me p equals 7 and p equals 1. Next assignment, we continue factoring. I have r and r because that multiplies to give me r squared. Now what multiplies to give me negative 56? Since this is a negative and a negative, it tells me that it's a negative and a positive. So this gives me minus 8, because 8 times 7 is negative 56. It's a minus 8 and a positive 7, because negative 8 plus 7 gives me negative 1. It gives me r equals 8 and r equals negative 7. Number 2. What multiplies to give me b squared? That would be a b and a b. Since this is a positive and this is a negative, it tells me that I have a negative and a negative. What multiplies to give me 8? I could do 8 and 1, but negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9, not negative 6. I could also do negative 4 and negative 2. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. So b minus 4 equals 0. B minus 2 equals 0. That gives me b equals 4, b equals 2. Number 3. What multiplies to give me 56? It's going to be 8 and 7 again, because 8 plus 7 gives me 15. X plus 8, x plus 7, set that equal to 0. X plus 8 equals 0. X plus 7 equals 0. X equals negative 8. X equals negative 7. Next one. Sorry, I was getting on my Google Meet. I'm sure no one will show up, but I'm here. Just waiting. Next one. Now, when I look at this one, I see something different about it. As soon as I look at it, I see that this is a perfect square, and so is the 64. 64 is 8 squared, so I know that I can just leave this as x plus 8 squared. That's because this is a perfect square trinomial. If I wanted to check that, I could do 8 times 2, which gives me 16. So I know that that's correct. Now I just have to do this once. X plus 8 equals 0. X equals negative 8. Number 5. K squared plus 2k minus 3. What multiplies to give me k squared? What multiplies to give me negative 3? I have k and k. I have minus 3. That becomes a plus 3 and a minus 1. Positive 3 minus 1 gives me 2. K plus 3 equals 0. K minus 1 equals 0. K equals negative 3. K equals 1. V squared minus 5v minus 14. V squared is v times v. What multiplies to give me negative 14 and adds to give me negative 5? Since this is a negative and this is a negative, then that makes this a negative and a positive. What multiplies to give me 14? The most common one I can think of is 7 and 2. 7 minus 2 gives me 5. Because this is negative, the bigger number goes with the negative. So it's v minus 7v plus 2. That's going to give me v equals 7 and v equals negative 2. Next one, a squared plus 2a minus 3. A times a gives me a squared. What multiplies to give me negative 3? It would be a positive 3 and a negative 1. I can tell it's a positive 3 because this is a positive 2. That means the bigger number gets the positive. A plus 3 equals 0. A minus 1 equals 0. That's a equals negative 3 and a equals 1. Number 8, b squared minus 3b minus 40. B times b, negative 40. This is a minus, this is a minus. It means that it's got to be a plus and a minus. What multiplies to give me 40? 8 and 5 does. Since this is a negative 3, negative 8 plus 5 gives me negative 3. So that's b equals negative 5 and b equals 8. Quadratic functions have only one zero. That's false. The majority of the time they cross the x-axis, which gives them two zeros. It would be a 0 here and a 0 here. A 0 of a function is the value of x that makes it f of x equals 0. That's true. The points 0, 2, and 0, 5 could be the zeros of a given quadratic. That's false because the y's are not 0. In this case, the x's are zeros. They have to have the y's be zeros in order to be the zeros of a function. In what direction does the parabola open? So as soon as I see that this is a positive x squared, it tells me that it opens upward. Find the y-intercept. In order to do that, all I need to do is look at the last number. That would be negative 6. Find the vertex. So now we can fill out our table. So I start by doing negative 2 squared, which is 4, minus a negative 2. Anytime you subtract a negative, it becomes a positive, minus 6. 4 plus 2 is 6, minus 6 is 0. Now plug a 1 in. Negative 1 in, sorry. Negative 1 squared is 1 minus a negative 1 minus 6. Negative 1 squared is 1 minus a negative 1 is plus 1 minus 6 gives me negative 4. Now I can plug a 0 in. 0 squared is 0 minus 0 is 0 minus 6. So that's negative 6. Plug a 2 in. 2 squared is 4 minus 2 minus 6. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. And then plug the 4 in. 4 squared is 16. 16 minus 4 is 12. 12 minus 6. Sorry. 4 squared is 16 minus 4 minus 6. 16 minus 4 is 12. 12 minus 6 is, I can't think for a second. 12 minus 6 is 6. Oh my gosh, that was such a struggle. So that's 6. Wow. I guess I can't make fun of you guys. Find the vertex. The vertex is going to be our lowest point, which is 0, negative 6. Plot the vertex and the y-intercept. the vertex is the y-intercept here. Complete the table, use values to draw the graph. I can now just put my values in. You could also have done this on Desmos and submitted it to me that way. And then I just draw the line connecting these points. Find the zeros of each function by factoring. So first I set this equal to 0. And we're just doing the same thing we've been doing. What multiplies to give me negative 10 and adds to give me negative 3? That's going to be plus 2 and minus 5. So then this would be x minus 5 equals 0. So x would equal negative 2, or x would equal positive 5. Number 10, the last one. This is a difference of two squares. So all I need to know is what multiplies to give me x squared, what multiplies to give me negative 1. So x squared gives me x squared. And 1 to the second power, or 1 squared, gives me 1. Since it's difference of two squares, that tells me one's a plus and one's a minus. That's still equal to 0. X plus 1 equals 0. X minus 1 equals 0. Gives me x equals negative 1 and x equals 1. Today's homework assignment. Here I have to get everything on the same side to start with. So that's x squared plus 4x minus 32. I added the 4x over because it was a minus. I subtracted the 32 over because it was positive. Now what multiplies to give me 32 and adds to 4? Since this is a minus and this is a plus, I know that this is a minus and this is a plus. It's going to be x plus 8 and x minus 4. X minus 4 equals 0. X plus 8 equals 0. It gives me x equals 4 and x equals negative 8. Number 2. I need to get the negative 25 over to this side, so I add it over. R squared minus 10r plus 25 equals 0. What multiplies to give me 25? I can tell that that's a perfect square. This is a perfect square as well. It's a minus in the middle, so it's going to be r minus 5 squared. Then it's just going to be r equals 5. This r minus 5 with the squared on the outside just means that it's r minus 5 times r minus 5. Number 3. This one's a little trickier if you're not paying attention. There's no third term, and this is an n and this is an n, so I can factor an n out. That's just n plus 8. Now it's n equals 0 and n plus 8 equals 0. So it's n equals 0 and n equals negative 8. Number 4, I subtract the 3x over to get it to the other side. X squared minus 3x minus 18 equals 0. What multiplies to give me 18? 9 and 2, but 9 minus 2 is not 3. Could also be 6 and 3. So that's x minus 6 and x plus 3. Gives you x equals 6, x equals negative 3. Subtract my 8 over. N squared plus 2n minus 8 equals 0. What multiplies to give me 8? 4 and 2. This is a minus. This is a plus. So it's n plus 4 and n minus 2. Now it's n equals negative 4 and n equals 2. Get the 7n over, you got to subtract it. N squared minus 7n plus 6 equals 0. What multiplies to give me a positive 6 and adds to negative 7? Since this is positive, this is minus. It's got to be a minus and a minus. Minus 6 minus 1. I get n equals 6, n equals 1. Number 7, 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. Now these are a little more difficult because I got to figure out what multiplies to give me 3 and what multiplies to give me negative 2. So I would have 3x and x. Then what can multiply to give me 2? Since this is a minus and this is a minus, it tells me that it's going to be a minus and a plus. What multiplies to give me negative 2? It would have to be a negative 2 and a 1. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, plus 1 is negative 5. So it's 3x plus 1 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. X equals 2. Subtract the 1 over. 3x equals negative 1. Divide by 3. X equals negative 1/3. Get to 51k over. I got to subtract it. 7k squared minus 51k minus 40. I know that this has to be 7 and 1 to multiply to give me 7. What multiplies to give me negative 40? I would say 8 and 5. This is a minus. This is a minus. It tells me that I have a plus and a minus. If I do minus 8 here and plus 5 here, 7k times negative 8 gives me negative 56, plus 5k gives me negative 51. Set them both equal to 0 and solve. Subtract the 5 over, divide by 7. It gives k equals negative 5/7. Add the 8 over, k equals 8. Number 9, I need to get everything on the same side. 7k squared plus 3k minus 4 equals 0. What multiplies to give me 7? It has to be 7 and 1. Then what multiplies to give me negative 4? It can either be negative 4 and 1 or 2 and 2. Let's try 2 and 2. This is a minus, this is a plus. So if I do a plus and a minus, 7 times negative 2, that's negative 14, plus 2 is negative 12. That's not 3. So I know that my 2's are wrong. So it's got to be 1 and 4. Seven times negative 4 is negative 28. That's not anywhere near 3. Plus 1 is not good either. So I just need to rearrange. 7k minus 4 k plus 1. 7 times 1 gives me 7. Minus 4 gives me positive 3. That gives me k equals 4/7 and k equals negative 1. Last one, 7m squared plus m minus 6 equals 0. It's going to be a 7 and 1. Minus 6 breaks down to, I can either do 3 and 2, or I could do 1 and 6. If I do 1 and 6, you'll notice that this is a plus 1 and a minus 6. 7 times 1 is 7. Minus 6 is 1. And I'm done. This gives me m equals 6/7 and m equals -1. All right, long video today, but at least I gave you all the answers to your homework today. So I guess it's kind of a trade-off. All right, make sure you get those bonus points and have a good day. Good day.